Welcome, friends, and welcome to another episode of Bikes, Brews, and Conservative Views. This is another raw and unedited video. Today, I want to talk about the three leading contributors to the demise of motorcyclists. First of all is excessive speed. Now, as motorcyclists, we like speed. It's our friend. It adds to the fun and adventure, and that's why we ride motorcycles, is for adventure. But it's also our enemy. And I'm not just talking about what happens to a human body when it hits an inanimate object. That's probably what you're thinking. But there's two other factors that I want to cover regarding speed. And one of them is that increased speed decreases your reaction time. So when that deer, that porcupine, that woman who's not paying attention pulls out in front of you, the slower you're going, the more reaction time you have to respond to the threat. The faster you're going, the less reaction time you have to respond. So in that aspect, speed is your enemy. Another factor is that increased speed increases your stopping distance. Again, when that deer or porcupine rolls out in front of you, how much distance is predicated on your speed. The slower you're going, the less stopping distance is required. The faster you're going, the more distance is required to bring that motorcycle to a stop and avoid the threat. So, speed is your friend. Speed is also your enemy. Excessive speed is the number one contributing factor to the demise of motorcyclists. So number two is helmets. And I don't want to get preachy here. I'm not your mother. I'm not going to tell you what to do. We live in a state where wearing a motorcycle helmet is optional. And they come in different styles. The half shell helmets, the 3/4 where the face is open, the full face helmets. Modulars are a bit of a hybrid. But, and honestly, very few motorcycle accidents include impact to the top of your head. It rarely happens. Also, rarely happens to the back of your head unless you're popping a wheelie and you fall back and hit the road, or you get rear-ended. Over 90% of the accident trauma is to the front. The body's moving forward. This is the impact zone. And I've got some friends that are paramedics, and honestly, I can't tell you how many times they told me they had to walk the ditch line at the accident scene looking for the motorcyclist's lower jaw because it was no longer attached to his body. It's not a pretty sight. And obviously they weren't wearing a full face helmet. They were either wearing no helmet, a half shell, an open face. But, and again, I'm not telling you what to do. You do you. Knowledge is power. I'm simply giving you knowledge. You choose what you want to do. But not wearing a helmet is the second leading contributor to the demise of motorcyclists, and face trauma is number one. Third contributing factor to the demise of motorcyclists is alcohol is in the mix. Now, we have alcohol in our name, Bikes, Brews, and Conservative Views, but we always drink in moderation. And a lot of our destinations are bar and grills or a Western saloon, great riding destinations. And on a warm day, there's nothing better than having a beer or two. But if we're drinking a beer or two, there's always food in the mix. There's always water or Gatorade in the mix. And we always stop and give ourselves plenty of time to ensure that we are completely sober before we get back on that motorcycle. Driving and alcohol do not mix, especially a motorcycle, do not mix. We do not condone it. It's not safe. It's not a smart thing to do. I'm not getting preachy here. You do you, but knowledge is power. Now, actually, most of the time, we choose to go with a non-alcoholic version. In fact, that's what we have here, Heineken Zero. It's one of my favorites. And Coors makes a non-alcoholic version called the Edge, one of my favorites. And actually preparing for this episode, I actually Googled because I knew there was a slew of other non-alcoholic beer options out there. I mean, I knew Dos Equis made one, I knew Corona made one, but Guinness makes one. There's a bunch of IPAs out there that are non-alcoholic. Blue Moon makes a non-alcoholic wheat beer. If you Google it, you'd be amazed. Over a dozen and different types: pilsners, ambers, lagers, IPAs, porters, stouts. Every kind of beer that you love, there's non-alcoholic versions out there. That's what we prefer to do. That way we don't have to worry about if it's a hot day and we want to slam back a couple beers or get a bucket of beers. We can go the non-alcoholic route, and we're 100% sober. We have all of our faculties, and we'll have a beautiful day of writing. Now, for those of you that drink wine, every establishment has a sparkling cider, a non-alcoholic version if you're a wine drinker, and of course every bar has non-alcoholic cocktails if you're a cocktail drinker. So there's plenty of ways that you can go out and drink and have zero alcohol, or know your limits, and have a plan. The number one thing that goes out the window when you drink alcohol is judgment. You're like, oh, I don't feel buzzed. I think I'm good. No, have a plan ahead of time, knowing that I'm going to have one beer, I'm going to have it with lunch, or I'm going to have two beers, and I'm going to stop at 3 o'clock, and then we'll get on the road at XYZ. And so have a plan and stick to it, because once you start drinking, do not rely on your judgment. Do not try to figure out, oh, I think I feel good. No, have a plan, or do what we like to do, stick with the non-alcoholic versions. Bikes, brews, and conservative views, we like it all, but we also want to come home safe. And if you don't make it home, your family and your pets, honestly, your pets will not understand why you did not come home, why you abandoned them. So do it for yourself. Don't mix alcohol and ride motorcycles or drive in a car. Do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your pets. And we hope to see you guys out there on the road. And until next time, oh, one other thing before I go. I'm going to put some pictures in the video. They're a group of pictures from various motorcycle scenes. They're pictures of the helmets in the aftermath of an accident. So just look at the damage that's done to these helmets, and imagine if the person was not wearing a helmet, that kind of damage done to their head or their face. And then you make the call. You choose. But knowledge is power. And until next time, cheers, guys. How'd I do, Grammy? How'd I do?